All right. I always like to say that this man needs no introduction, but I actually think he does this time around. Yeah, OU softball play by play guy, whatever. This guy's like big leagues now, calling professional softball games this past weekend. How was that, man? I can't hear. I cannot hear you at all.
I got muted somehow. Okay.
There you go.
All right. You want to do it again?
Yeah, I can redo that one.
Okay.
All right. I always say this guy doesn't need an introduction, and normally he doesn't. But I actually think that may have changed this past weekend. You call him pro softball now? What's going on?
No. So this weekend, it was the Alliance, and that's a travel team. That was really cool to be a part of. The fast pitch all-star game that they do for players that are on their way to college. But Oklahoma City Spark got announced
Yeah.
on Tuesday. So I have not had, my agent has not been in any negotiations, and by my agent I mean me and my wife. But yeah, it's been an exciting time for this sport, definitely over this last week, from the travel ball season coming to a conclusion with all the great travel ball leagues they have, and obviously I'm partial to the Alliance group that's come together, and then of course the announcement of the Oklahoma City Spark. What a week!
Yeah, no, it has been a week. And, this take's been, to get to OU softball, this take's been out there on social media really now for the past 2 to 3 weeks. It's that, whoa, look what OU has coming in the portal. Look at this recruiting class. Jeez, might they be just as good as they were last year? And Blake, look, you and I hope that that's the case.
Right.
And maybe you totally differ from me on this. But just that conversation, gives me some sort of an uneasiness, because I guess I take it as we're not giving the previous team the credit that they deserve, that they may be the greatest softball team ever, but we're just moving on from them less than 2 months after and just claiming this next year's team as, maybe just as good. And maybe they will be. I think they'll be the favorite to win the championship. I just see that take out there and I kind of cringe and say, let's give this team the credit that it deserves before we move on first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of felt the same way about the 2021 team too. That's a national championship team that, G, and I know you've had G on the podcast before. It took her a while to get rolling. It really did last year. And when she did, she was special. So and no team has hit more home runs in the history of college softball than the 2021 team. So I always feel kind of partial to that. But then again, 2022 comes out and just dominates. They avenged every single loss, much like the 2021 team did. And then we're doing the Sooners Helping Sooners event last week. And when the conversation came to, all right, well, where do you rank 22? And then 21 was amazing. And Coach Gasso jokes, she goes, look out for 23. So it's going to be hard to replace Jocelyn Allo. I mean, we know that. It's going to be hard to replace Jana Johns and Taylon Snow and what Hope Troutwine brought, and obviously the leadership of Lindsey Elam. But you have an incredible group of personalities that have come together. And from all of the transfer portal additions, as for some in this sport as controversial as they've become, all 4 of them have come in with one goal, and that's to win a national championship, which I find to be pretty awesome. And obviously, Tyler, on a path with what's coming back for OU and now what's coming in, they seem really well positioned for that.
You hit on something that I wanted to bring up with you. Why is it so controversial, the fact that OU brought in, 4 really good players through the portal, because some have an issue with it? Look, man, because here's OU's recruiting pitch right now to incoming freshmen or portal players. Do you want to win? Do you want to go to Oklahoma City? Cool. Do you want to win a national championship? Great. Do you want to accomplish all of those things in front of the rowdiest fan base in the sport and a program that's really all about the right things? I get it. People are upset, and maybe it's more of a jealousy thing. I just don't understand. If you're really paying attention to this program, how could you think that anything is shady going on through the portal with this group, right? I don't get why there's so many upset people right now about this.
Yeah, I think what it is is people get tired of teams being good consistently. People are grinching and moaning about Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State in football, and people are grinching and moaning about the SEC in baseball. But, it's if we had the passion for this sport in the 90s, people would be saying the same thing about Arizona. If we had the passion
Yeah.
across the board for this sport, and the passion was always there. Maybe I misrepresenting it, but across the board, then I'd think you'd have people that were complaining about what Mike Andrea was doing, or in the UCLA dominance era. Now, as softball gets more mainstream, you're going to have conversations like this. Is it good for the sport that Oklahoma is doing this? The problem, I think, with the rest of college softball, and maybe even those that cover it, is there's not like a competitive balance rule here. You be good, be great, or get eaten. This isn't about NIL for Oklahoma. This isn't about these student athletes taking the easy way out. It's about them wanting to go to a place that has a holistic approach. Patty Gasso's not going out there and, you're right. You can say, hey, come here and you got a shot to win a national championship, but you're also not guaranteed anything. You might be Sidney Sanders and you started every game, or Leah Flores or whomever, or you aren't guaranteed anything when you come here. You're not. You got to go compete for it. And guess what? If you don't play well, you're probably going to have to find a different role. That's the reality of it. But it's a holistic approach. It's working on your mind. It's working on your mental approach. It's working on everything. And I guess some people just haven't accepted that, Patty Gasso is really, really good at selling that vision. And there's nothing that says that any of these players took an easy route. I vehemently disagree with that. And it's definitely not because of NIL. And I don't know how that got started. I know how it got started. I absolutely know how it got started. There was a coaching staff, and I heard that this weekend, that has been out there and they've lost some players. And they're spreading the rumor that, well, Oklahoma's offering all these NIL deals. Why would – first of all, they're not. But secondly, why wouldn't we embrace that? Why wouldn't we say, my gosh, softball is at the point where you can be in a competitive situation because of NIL? Why wouldn't that be something that you're celebrating instead of bitching and moaning about? So that's what's happened here. Is there's been a couple of coaches that have negatively recruited, and the unfortunate thing about it is one of the coaches has Oklahoma ties, and I find it honestly to be a little bit disgusting. You start, well, they're out there, and I would say it's kind of Saban-esque, but at the very least, Saban had some evidence to back it up, with what he threw out there. But it's not NIL. It's not taking the easy way out. It's wanting to play for a program that's more than just about what you can do on the dirt. And I got very triggered by it. We talked about it on my show, on our station, The Ref, but I kind of dig it in one sense, because it shows that, all right, this sport is turning a corner, where it's covered, that people are able to say these kinds of things, and you have enough of, good, let them have it. It shows you the passion and is getting ramped up, and the coverage of it is where it should be growing to. It just, the coverage needs to be a little bit smarter.
Yeah. In the circle, last year, OU was 1, 2, 3. And we don't really see a whole lot of pitching staffs in softball that are a legit 1, 2, 3. OU was. Am I crazy to think, with Jordy Ball coming back, Nicole May coming back, Alex Storako coming in, the number 1 overall player in this recruiting class, that maybe for the first time ever, Chris, that we see a legitimate pitching staff that can go 1, 2, 3, 4? Is that possible here?
I think it is. And I honestly think the big sleeper in that bunch is Nicole May. Nicole May wasn't healthy a lot of last year, and now she's healthy, and she'll be healthy going into the fall, and she'll probably be healthy going into the season. And Kirsten Deal is the real deal, pardon the pun, and I'm sure you'll hear that a lot on the broadcast this year. But she is really something else. But the great thing is, you think about all across this sport, when you're a ballyhooed freshman and you come in, you're probably pitching right away, right? And it's a trial by fire. And I think for some that's good. But for Kirsten Deal, she's going to have some time to where she's not thrown right into the fire, right? You've got Jordy Ball, you've got Alex Duraco, you've got Nicole May, as you brought up. So, it's really cool. And there is a downside to this, right? You got to find a way to keep everyone happy too. Patty Gasso doesn't want to be in a situation where Nicole May gets upset because she's not being used, or Kirsten Deal gets upset because she's not getting the innings she wants, and they end up going somewhere else. While the salary cap isn't real in football, Tyler, the transfer portal is very real in college softball, and you've got to keep all these players happy. We talk about Sydney Sanders. Well, what happens if someone like the Jocelyn Erickson who's coming in? What if she gets upset about not getting the time that she thought she would get coming here? Or Hannah Core, after spending a year. So there's going to be a real interesting balance to all of this, including that 1 through 4 pitching staff. It's probably, as good as this team is, it's going to be one of the biggest challenges for Patty Gasso in trying to find enough ABs, find enough IPs, find enough reps to make sure that you don't end up in a situation where someone that you think can really help you ends up going somewhere else.
Last question, and I don't know if you've ever been asked this before. This might be long-winded, so bear with me here, but I've had Patrick Gunn on. We had Jackie on after the national championship, and what I kind of asked / told them is, even being in the stands that night, I got this feeling that normally after you win a championship in any sport, it's pure jubilation. Oh my God, right. We did it. The journey here, we won it. But it felt like that night there was a combination of excitement, but also a little sadness that this group, we won't ever get to watch Jocelyn Alo play softball again. We won't get to watch that special group play on a team together. Now, I'm on the outside of it. You're on the inside of it. And it seems just like an awesome program, awesome human beings to be around. And you get to do that on basically a weekly basis during the season. Right. What's it like for you being around that team, going on road trips as much as you do during the season for that amount of time, and then the season kind of ends and you're not with those people on a daily basis like you were before? Is that hard for you, like once the season ends? Because I know how much you love it to be with those people, to all of a sudden you win a national championship. And not that you'll never see them again, but it's a lifestyle change after that, if you get what I'm asking.
No, and it's a really good question. And you said a long-winded question, prepare for a long-winded answer. It sucks. It sucks because you see those people at the celebration or even right after the game, if it doesn't end in the championship, and you know that they're going to go do their thing and I've got to go do mine, right? And mine doesn't involve heading back to the clubhouse. Mine doesn't involve going back to OU. Mine involves going to work with you and doing whatever OU has for me to do next. But here's what's weird is, in a lot of ways, for me personally, being like literally Coach Gasso, one of the great things she did from day one is, I'm sure she would have done it even if it wasn't me, but the play-by-play person was part of the team. So you're on the bus with them. You're eating meals with them. You're not separated. I've been with teams before where it's like, hey, you're not eating with the team, and that's fine. Everyone has their rules. But it was everything you did was with the team, and whatever the team did, you were there. And if there was times whenever it was just going to be a coach player thing, then you're like, hey, just heads up, this is coach's players. And it very rarely happens, Tyler. So it becomes from February to May, you're 24/7, 365, and you're with them in the airport, you're with them on the bus, you're with them everywhere. But for me, what happens is once the postseason starts and that schedule shifts a little bit, right? Because you're not playing until, say, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so you don't have the early games. And for the most part, they're at home and you're at home. So for me, it's like a slow ramp up. So it becomes more of a, when it's game day, it's like, hey, good to see you again. What's been going on, right? And that happens through the regionals and through the super regionals. And then obviously it's in the World Series, you're all on a completely different path, especially with what the schedules look like this year. But, it's sad. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I think about not being able to end Paige Parker and Leah Wodak's career with the championship and knowing how fun seeing them win two leading up to it was, right? Um, how sad it was not to end that incredible 16 freshman class with a championship in 19. But then, it's been kind of cool in that these individuals that you got to know as players that became such an integral part of your life have now gone on to coach, right? Leah's down
Mhm.
at Louisiana Monroe and crushing it. Sid and Fale are off to the ACC this year, and seeing Shannon Sale get a job at UCF, and we can go back. Paige Parker was at Utah, and you go see her. So yes, it's weird, but you're excited because you know what's next for them. The hardest part for me, and I'll say this, probably knowing that they're not listening, is I I I don't have a lot of friends. I mean, that I hang out with. It's not
Yeah.
like Boohoo. It's by process of elimination. My wife wants to be my best and only friend, so they're all out. But in all seriousness, like Jackie Livingston, she means a lot to me, right? She's a
Mhm.
great friend. She's someone that I talk to about everything. I don't see her, after softball's over. Dane Summer, the strength guy, great friend. Don't see him. Actually, I don't get a really chance to see Dane once the postseason starts. Same with Jake Scroggins, the equipment guy, Chase Brown before him. The athletic trainer, Mara Kennedy, who is congrats, she just got engaged. I mean, these are people behind the scenes that you don't hear a lot about, but they mean a lot to me because they're who I spend my time. Patrick Dunn is a great example. So for me, it sucks because, like you said, you're not going to get to see Jocelyn Allo in a Sooner uniform again. You're not going to see Lindsay Elam, but on a very selfish side, I don't get to be around my friends, right?
Mhm.
There's no late night trips to get ice cream, or there's no random tr- hikes or whatever you might have, and that's always been the hardest part for me. But the excitement then ramps back up around December, November, whenever, or I guess October, when fall ball starts, and you get football to fill that void, but then you get a chance to go out and watch some of these newcomers. So being on the inside of it is it's a blessing. It's something I've never imagined I would love as much as it did. But when it's over, bro, it's over. And it's like, oh, well, what do I do now? And it's been fun to see how pro softball is growing. It's been fun to see the explosion of travel ball to where you can still get that softball feel, and to see the passion for Sooner fans, your podcast, spaces that are nonstop going on. It helps to carry it over for me. But I miss my friends, man. That's for sure.
Yeah. By
And
the
the
way, I
families
mentioned
too.
this.
And the
Yeah.
families too, by the way. That's one thing. I hate not seeing Nacio and Levi and uh, uh Alyssa Brito's dad. All these people that's one thing that sucks about the season being over too, is not seeing the families.
Yeah. So I joked around with Patrick on this. I made the joke that OU softball was so elite this year that it seemingly everyone won some sort of an award. Like the team obviously
Yeah,
won the national championship. You had your All Americans, All Big 12. Patrick won SID of the year by a
that's
website
right.
that covers college softball, and you won an award as well for what was it? Just best radio crew? Was it you individually? But everyone associated with OU
Yeah.
softball won some sort of an award this year, which is really cool.
Yeah, and listen, it was really cool, and I think Extra Innings Softball put it together, but it was fan vote. I mean, listen, if you're associated with OU with their social media following, they're gonna win about everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was grateful that the fans went out and voted on that. But it was yeah, it's pretty amazing. I think that the coaching staff won coaching staff of the year too. If there was uh, a playlist award that was given, Caitlin Fournier would probably win it for the marketing playlist before the games. Yeah, it was a pretty special year. It's going to be hard to top, but man, there is some talent coming in this year for Oklahoma. That's for
You
sure.
can't doubt this program, man. Like I've said the
Yeah.
same thing. It's how do you top this year? How do you top this? And obviously there were, only 2 losses, so technically I guess you go undefeated, but there were so many
Yeah.
moments this year where it was, how can it get better than that? How can they top that? And seemingly they always do it. So I've learned to never doubt this program because
No,
its capability is unlike anything I've ever seen.
they can top it by doing one thing. They can win the Big 12 tournament. So there's one that you can add to it,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Top it
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I think too, that's I think this is going to sound crazy. I think they can be better, and that's what's that's what should be frightening for their opponents and everyone that's already jaded about the success that they've had, because I really do think there's so many things they can do better. Kinsey Hanson's going to be healthy next year. Look out. They're going to be really fun to watch next year, man. I can't wait.
We got a few comments in here. First, someone named Drunk. Okay, I gotta love that. Drunk says OU softball is the same as Alabama football. I don't know if they're equal right now. I think OU softball might be more of a dynasty than Alabama.
Did Alabama win the national championship this year? No. So
They did not.
Edge to Oklahoma on that. But you know what? It's interesting because when you think about kind of just what is the foundation of Alabama's success, it's something that's been emulated at Georgia. To a certain degree, you've seen Dabo use it at Clemson, and obviously Brent Venables here. There's a formula that's involved. And listen, it's not magic, sprinkle dust that everyone does. But when Kirby Smart went to Georgia, what do they say? You could basically walk through the Alabama facility, and everything that Georgia is doing, Alabama is doing, and vice versa. It's different logos. Basically, Kirby Smart has taken the A and put the G on it. So it'll be interesting to see if, you start seeing some of that at Oregon now with Missy Lombardi in her time, and the Sid Romero going to Duke and a Fale going to North Carolina. If you can start seeing these programs continue to try to emulate what OU is doing, because it's pretty special.
Hey, man, appreciate you doing this. 37 days till kickoff. Your life gets all sorts of crazy again. Your life is always crazy because you do about 2 or 3 different radio shows per day. But as always, appreciate it. And I know you're like the rest of us. Just can't wait until this next season, man.
Can't wait till this next season, Tyler, and appreciate you and Diamond Envy, buddy. Have a great day.